Leon Festinger was a social psychologist born on May 9th, 1919. He came up with two basic theories that I am going to be covering here today. The first one is called cognitive dissonance. Some of you may have heard about it, but what exactly is it? Is it when you contradict yourself, or could it be the initial change in the learning process of human beings? Cognitive dissonance is when your beliefs and actions don't match up or are in conflict with each other. Let's say you think to yourself that you are a good person and that one of the characteristics that defines your personality is that you always help people that need it. One day you are very tired and you only want to get home from work and go to sleep, but suddenly your friend calls you and asks for your help. Cognitive dissonance. Of course, you can say no and just fall asleep because you are tired, but how could you do that if you are a good person who helps his friends out when they're in need, right? This type of contradiction is disturbing and causes us great stress because actions and beliefs or reality and ideals are not always the same. They don't always match up. And this forces us to reevaluate our identities, beliefs, and values. This in part happens because situations and circumstances, as well as events, can be unpredictable and odd at times. This just happened to me recently where I was planning to start my own English school online, and I came up with an organized sales pitch with the help of ChatGPT. At the end, I thought to myself, perfect. Now all I have to do is copy and paste when a potential client or student contacts me. That was my belief. That was my ideal and how I thought things would go. Then when the first potential client actually made contact with me, I found myself fumbling the sentences around and thinking to myself, this is not how I thought this would go. I was confused as to how to interact with the person and how to use the sales pitch I had organized, because things were actually different when I was talking in real time with the person. That is reality. The second theory is called the social comparison theory, and it states in my own words that comparing yourself to others is a healthy thing. Comparing yourself to others makes you a part of your local community and local social groups. The social comparison theory suggests that people tend to compare themselves to others who they perceive are like them or similar, and this can happen either upwards or downwards. However, some people do not compare themselves to others at all, and hence ignore those people perceived differently from them. This makes sense because according to identity, you will become more and more like the people who are around you, right? And less like the people you distance yourself from. The interesting thing here is that people tend to do it with the comparing, contrasting mechanism inside of them. That is, the way you acquire your identity, at least partially, is by comparing your opinions and abilities with other people's opinions and abilities across a vertical up-down criterion. Something worth noting is that the people who may consider themselves immune to comparing themselves to others because they sense that they are not like those people will likely strive to contrast themselves with most people. That is, they will always be noticing the differences among themselves and all other groups of people. This begs the practical question: do you normally notice similarities or differences among you and other people? Noticing differences, of course, comes with a price, and hostility as well as resentment are the prices to pay. This, in essence, happens because you can say your values, but according to Festinger, it is your opinions and abilities that do not coincide with other people's opinions and abilities. That is, they are so different that there is really no point in trying to compare, either by trying to convince others or by having others trying to convince you of their opinions and abilities, that you just never establish contact, and this creates distance. This is sometimes not healthy, but it is the only way to be different from those around you. We must remember that these two theories are from the social psychological point of view. The social comparison theory obviously aims to either become more like those around you or to try to change them based on your convincing them. You can apply cognitive dissonance, for example, to try to get them to see that there are other ways of seeing and doing things. Of course, if people do decide to follow you, it will be in some deformed shape of what you thought it would be, because once again, idealism and reality will clash if your expectations are out of sync, and this is due to the fact that cognitive dissonance can be applied equally across all levels of interaction, even with yourself. In other words, it would be wrong for you to consider that people who follow you will be exactly like you or like you want them to be. Festinger also spoke on proximity, what is known as propinquity in the social network theory. And no, we are not talking about social media when I say social network theory. We are speaking about the inevitable big or small social network that each individual has in their own personal lives. You may have seen a sociogram, which were developed by Jacob L. Moreno in the 1930s. These types of diagrams allow investigators to see the relationships among individuals within a group set. By writing the names of all of the people, then drawing lines connecting people who know each other or relate to each other to one another. After doing this, you can clearly see the concentration on certain individuals, which could point at high popularity within a certain group. All of this helps us visualize a couple things. First, it helps us understand the difference between reality and idealism, belief and action, theory and practice. One thing is to think about something, and another is to actually carry it out and experience it in the flesh and bone. Second, individuals are ultimately influenced by their context and the people that are near or away from them. People will use their opinions and abilities, as well as others' opinions and abilities, to get a better grasp as to where they stand on the social status ladder. Festinger's theories help us understand group psychology and how comparing yourself to others is a natural human pursuit. Everybody does it. Those that ignore it and exclude themselves from social groups, fine. But most people try to change, try to adapt their opinions and abilities to those they are close to. The problem is that once they manage to become like those they are close to or like the rest, it is hard for them to change. Either way, this could be a source of human and identity developments, as well as the foundation in human teaching and learning of opinions and abilities, or what we have come to know as culture.